Today, 8th May 2020, is the 159th birth anniversary of Rabindranath Tagore. It is interesting to note that post COVID 19, when the world, especially humans, are learning new ways of living, Tagore had already laid the foundation for such sustainable way of living long back, as evident in his writings and poetry. His translation of Gitanjali in English gave him the Nobel Prize for Literature on 13th November 1913. Several newspapers reported this event with great enthusiasm. The Evening Post, New York, 13/11/1913, referred to this Nobel laureate as a Hindu prophet. It wrote, quote, "The conferring of the Nobel Prize on Tagore is a recognition of the deep effect of Eastern thought on the Occident. The East has been opened up by men from the West and has profited from our ideas of government and more especially from the more material progress we have made in the conveniences of life. In return, the Orient has reacted on the mind of Europe and America. Our imagination has been stimulated and our perspective of life changed by contact with the thought of other lands." His message of communion with nature as a sustainable way of living finds expression in his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, where he said, "I remember how my life's work developed from the time when I was very young. When I was about 25 years, I used to live in utmost seclusion, in the solitude of an obscure Bengal village by the river Ganges in a boathouse. The wild ducks which came during the time of autumn from the Himalayan lakes were my only companion. And in that solitude, dreaming and giving shape to my dreams and poems and studies, I passed my day in close contact with nature. I seemed to have drunk in the open space like wine overflowing with sunshine, and the murmur of the river used to speak to me and tell me secrets of nature. I used to send out my thoughts to Calcutta public through the magazines and other papers. You can well understand that it was a life quite different from the life of the West. I do not know if any of your Western poets or writers do pass the greatest part of the young days in such absolute seclusion. I am almost certain that it cannot be possible and that seclusion itself has no place in the Western world." And my life went on like this. I was an obscure individual to most of my countrymen in those days. I mean that my name was hardly known outside my own province. But I was quite content with that obscurity, which protected me from the curiosity of the crowds. And then came a time when my heart felt a longing to come out of that solitude and do some work for my human fellow beings, and not merely give shapes to my dreams and meditate deeply on the problems of life, but to try to give expression to my ideas through some definite work, some definitive service for my fellow beings. And one thing, the one work which came to my mind was to teach children. It is not because I was specially fitted for this work of teaching, for I have not had myself the full benefit of a regular education. For some time, I hesitated to take upon myself this task, but I felt that as I had a deep love for nature, I had naturally love for children also. My object in starting this institution, Shantiniketan, was to give the children of men full freedom of joy, of life, and of communion with nature. I myself had suffered when I was young through the impediments which were inflicted upon most boys while they attended school, and I have had to go through the machine of education which crushes the joy and freedom of life, for which children have such insatiable thirst. And my object was to give freedom and joy to children of men. And so I had a few boys around me, and I taught them, and I tried to make them happy. I was their playmate. I was their companion. I shared their life, and I felt that I was the biggest child of the party. And we all grew up together in this atmosphere of freedom. The vigor and the joy of the children, their chats and songs filled the air with a spirit of delight, which I drank every day I was there. And in the evening, during the sunset hour, I often used to sit alone watching the trees of the shadowing avenue. And in the silence of the afternoon, I could hear distinctly the voices of the children coming up in the air. And it seemed to me that these shouts and songs and glad voices were like those trees which come out from the heart of the earth, like fountains of life towards the bosom of the infinite sky. And it symbolized, it brought before my mind the whole cry of human life, all expressions of joy and aspirations of men arising from the heart of humanity up to the sky. I could see that, and I knew that we also, the grown-up children, send up our cries of aspiration to the infinite. I felt it in my heart of hearts." Unquote. Today, COVID-19 has made us realize again that political and religious boundaries are man-made. In reality, we all are the same in our pain, in our happiness, in our sorrow, and our aspirations. We are one, and our journey of life very similar. Such expressions can be seen in Tagore's poem 42 of Gitanjali, where he says, "Early in the day it was whispered that we should sail in a boat, only thou and I. And never a soul in the world would know of this our pilgrimage, to no country and to no end. In that shoreless ocean, at thy silently listening smile, my songs would swell in melodies, free as the waves, free from all bondage of words. Is the time not come yet? Are there works still to do? Lo, the evening has come down upon the shore, and in the fading light, the seabirds come flying to their nests. Who knows when the chains will be off, and the boat, like the last glimmer of sunset, vanish into the night?" Unquote. Today, as we social animals feel despair in times of social distancing, the poet gives us hope with his poem 44 of Gitanjali, where he says, quote, "This is my delight, thus to wait and watch at the wayside where shadow chases light, and the rain comes in the wake of the summer. Messengers with tidings from unknown skies greet me and speed along the road. My heart is glad within, and the breath of the passing breeze is sweet. From dawn till dusk, I sit here before my door, and I know that of a sudden the happy moment will arrive when I shall see. In the meanwhile, I smile and I sing all alone. In the meanwhile, the air is filling with the perfume of promise. Unquote. Yes, I am sure we all together stand very strong, and we can and we shall have a better tomorrow. Thank you.